So let's talk about what if nobody steps up to lead your group. And it is election season for PTO. Like now is the time of the year that typically groups are looking for new volunteers to step up into leadership roles. And I keep hearing from leaders like, God, people are like really hesitant to step up. And the reasons why they're hesitant to step up, that is a discussion for another day. But today we're going to talk about like what will happen if the worst case scenario occurs where like literally nobody steps up. So for most groups, especially PTAs, you have to have a president and a treasurer at a minimum. So you can have other people as elected leaders in your group, but that's like the bare minimum. So if you don't have at least a president and a treasurer, then you don't have the bare minimum and your group will have to fold. Ugh. You do not want that to happen, especially if you are a PTA and you are a 501c3, then that means that you will lose your 501c3 status, and when and if the group restarts, which I guarantee you somebody else, if there's not the interest now, there will definitely be the interest going forward. Like sometime in the future, somebody's gonna be like, I wanna do great things for the school and the kids, and they're gonna restart the parent group. And then they're gonna have to start from scratch, which means that they're gonna have to refile to get the 501c3. And that is a very expensive and time-consuming process that you can avoid by just having the bare minimum. But in the case that is what's happening, let's talk about what that looks like. If you are a non-501c3, there are fewer regulations on you about what you have to do. If you are a 501c3, then any money you have in your bank account needs to go to another 501c3. That is actually, there are specific processes that you can probably Google, look up dissolution of 501c3, and someone will have laid out all the steps for you. I'm going to give you kind of an overview and just kind of clue you into the fact that you definitely cannot just be giving the money to the school unless they are also a 501c3, because the whole idea of it is that the IRS is, if you have 501c3 status, right, that gives you non-profit, not tax exempt status, right? So any money you have raised, you have told other people that that's why you're raising it, that it's going to be going to a charitable organization that, you know, if you're a 501c3, then you've already had to lay out like your kind of like your mission statement, like what you're raising money for, what your cause is. If you're dissolving, you should be giving that money to somebody else with a similar mission. And the IRS does not want you to collect the money under the guise of being for charity and then turn around and give it to somebody who's not charitable. That would kind of be a little bit of a fraud and you don't want that to happen. That's why I say if you are a 501c3, you have to give the money to another 501c3. What kind of groups are 501c3s? You look for other booster groups in your school that maybe have that status, or in your school district. If there's nobody in your school or school district, maybe look to a community organization. I think if you start talking with people, you're going to figure it out. But like I said, this is a step that really should be avoided at all costs. I mean, if your school is closing, that is like a legit reason why you would want to close down your parent group, but really you're probably going to get folded into whatever school you're getting merged with. For example, I want to say maybe like 15 years ago, it's before my kids started school, my district merged some schools and they did kind of a realignment. So the elementary buildings before used to be K-4, then there was an upper elementary school with 5 to 6, and then so on, right, for the other schools. Well, what the district found was they had way too many elementary schools. Attendance was declining, so they closed 3 of the 6 lower elementary schools, and those schools merged with other schools. So what happened in those cases, and all of these groups happen to be PTAs, which just means it's usually PTAs make it a little bit easier for you to set up a 501c3. That's why I'm making the distinction between a PTA and a PTO, because again, like I've talked about before, PTA has an overarching hierarchical structure that makes it easier for local leaders to get things done, because you can always go up through your state office, right? If you're an independent PTO, you probably don't have that structure and support in place. I digress. So they were reducing from 6 to 3 schools, and 2 of the elementary schools were getting merged into one of the remaining 3 elementary schools. So the 2 PTAs from that school just gave all of their funds. It merged right into the surviving entity, so it would be the PTA that they were going to be associating with. And what they did there, which was a really smart idea, is they established a scholarship fund for kids who had gone through the elementary school, and then they figured out what is the last class that could have gone through the elementary school that was closed, and that's when they ended the scholarship program, because there'd be no more kids that could have gone there to qualify for senior scholarships when they were in 12th grade looking to go to college or any kind of vocational training. That's kind of just a quick overview about how dissolving a 501c3 works, and something that you need to pay attention to because you don't want to run afoul of the IRS regulations. So make sure you follow them to stay out of hot water. So I hope this has been really helpful. Until next time, take care. Bye-bye. Want even more guidance on how to be a stronger leader so you can run a better PTO or PTA? All these resources and more are waiting for you at ptoanswers.com.